If you go back now and rewatch your favorite TV shows and movies as a child, I promise you your childhood will be ruined. There are honestly so many different jokes and innuendos in TV shows and movies that we all loved as kids that just flew right over our heads. Like, it's actually kind of absurd. So I want to talk about some of those innuendos from these TV shows and movies that we all loved as kids. And then I kind of want to go into the conspiracy side of it and talk about like why they want to put this kind of dark humor in children's shows, and the Dan Schneider of it all. We're deep diving. Let's go. We're having another cozy day because you guys seemed to like it last time. I'm still working on like the background and fitting in as much of the like actual coloring that I can. I think we're gonna color this girl today. All right, the first show that I want to talk about is one I honestly didn't even really love as a kid and definitely don't really love now. I'm sorry. This is gonna ruffle some feathers, but it's SpongeBob. I just honestly never really cared for the show. But low-key, there were so many dirty and disturbing jokes in SpongeBob that just make me feel ill to this day. For one, let's talk about the episode Midlife Crustacean. This was in season 3, episode 15. I remember this episode very vividly. It's when Mr. Krabs is having like a midlife crisis. So he joins SpongeBob and Patrick on a big night out. And during this night out, he raids his mother's panty drawer. Like, there's literally a whole panty raiding scene from this episode, and it turned out to be his mother's panties that he was raiding. Like, that's so fucking weird if you think about it. This episode was even pulled from rotation in 2021, and I think that makes perfect sense, but like, it's just so strange to me that that was even warranted to be on a kid's TV show, because I remember understanding that even as a child. The list of innuendos from SpongeBob honestly goes on and on. Like, that could be a whole video in itself, and there probably are videos out there like top 20 jokes you missed in SpongeBob as a kid, because it's kind of gross. Rugrats is another TV show as a child that I loved, but had so many dark, dirty jokes in it. It's nuts. For example, there was one time the grandpa was like watching them, and he was babysitting the babies, and he was like, oh, I have some movies for you to like pick from to watch. It was like Reptar movies. And then he had a movie called Lonely Space Vixens, and he goes, that's for when you're asleep. Literally talking about corn. Why would you add that in? Like, I understand sort of, like, very lightly the concept of being like, oh, well, like, let's put in some jokes for the parents to get, but it's kind of weird that they do that. And I do think, like, you know, with some cartoons, it's probably a little bit more harmless. Like, obviously, where most children are not gonna understand that joke, and maybe the parents will just, like, find it a little funny. But I feel like that's just, like, the bare minimum. Honestly, I feel like the grandpa was just kind of portrayed as relatively creepy in the Rugrats overall, and so that joke as a child definitely slipped over my head. But as an adult, I just find it kind of disturbing that they wanted to get away with putting that in a children's show. Like, why does that give you satisfaction? Because it's weird. Hey Arnold was another show that had some really frickin' weird innuendos. Like, there's this scene that's like where Helga's like lusting for Arnold, and she says literally, you make my girlhood tremble. Bizarre thing to say in a children's show, but okay. There's also scenes in Hey Arnold where you can see like characters look like they're having sex in the background, and that is, again, disturbing. And at what point is it like kind of gross and weird to be putting that in instead of just trying to make the parents laugh? Because that's not even like a joke. That's just weird shit happening in the background that people might not even notice, and I just think it's so strange to do. Like, it's like, strange is kind of an understatement, honestly. But I think when you're talking about disturbing jokes and things that you missed as a child, Nickelodeon's and any Dan Schneider show on Nickelodeon comes to the forefront, because the amount of insane things that he would put in his shows just to see if he could get away with putting that in a children's show on a children's network is disturbing. And it's even more disturbing that so many people let those things slide. Truly, like, it's gross. Let's start with Zoey 101. So Zoey 101 famously has like one of the most disturbing pieces of media ever, and it's Jamie Lynn Spears like having this candy squirt on her face, and it's obviously supposed to look like a C-word shot. It's just like disgusting and disturbing that so many adults sat there and thought that was funny to do. to a child on a TV show for children. Like, I know that it is kind of tinfoil hat vibes to talk about Hollywood in this way, but when there's so much evidence of this being true, it literally feels stupid to ignore it. Like, for example, Sandra Bullock on Ellen talking about how getting a facial done with children's foreskin.
But what is it?
It is an extraction from a piece of skin that came from a young person.
It's foreskin from a Korean baby. That's what it is.
Okay.
Who comes up with this?
I don't think, it's not like I'm lying there with little pieces all over my face.
Who thinks of collecting it and having it for, we'll do something with this someday.
And why didn't we come up with that?
Right.
Why the fuck would she say that? Why would she do that? And then again, why would you admit that ever on national television? Like, it's nothing. Like that's not weird. I don't understand that whatsoever. And I just feel like that shit's been normalized for such a long time. It's really, really disturbing. Zoe 101 had a lot of other innuendos, but they also just, like, had a bunch of girls wearing short little outfits, and it just was uncomfortable, especially knowing after the fact that, like, Alexa played Nicole on Zoe 101 spoke out about feeling super uncomfortable in these costumes, and how Dan Schneider would keep all of the Polaroids of them in their little short skirts, and, like, they're literally 13 years old at this point. That's disturbing, to say the least. I also think Dan Schneider, you have to talk about the foot fetish. I feel like for a while people were kind of writing this off as like a joke. The weird Nickelodeon guy with the foot fetish. It's not a joke. It's not a joke, and it's so weird and real when you actually look at it that I don't understand how someone didn't flag the alarms. So first of all, Alexa Nicholas claims that Dan would go around trying to let kids' parents take pictures of their feet on like his little digital camera for money, like offering money to take pictures of these children's feet. Obviously bizarre behavior. I don't have to explain that. But something that gets me, and that something that I never really thought of as weird as a child, is the amount of jokes that have to do with feet in these shows. Because these shows, I'm not gonna lie, Dan Schneider shows were some of my favorite shows as a child. You know, Drake and Josh, iCarly, Victorious, the list goes on, but they were so disturbing and I didn't even realize it. iCarly has a lot of segments involving feet, and it's just gross once you like realize it and put it all together, because so does Victorious. But I think the most disturbing thing, and I cannot believe that people at the time weren't like, what the hell is this? This is weird, is that the Sam and Cat official Twitter page went on Twitter and tweeted, "Take a pic of your feet and write Sam and Cat on them and we'll retweet the best ones," to promote the show, which I, like, my brain cannot compute how people thought that was okay to do. Like, that's so, you're actually asking for photos of children's feet on Twitter publicly. Like, it's just scary to me to think these are the things that these people like Dan Schneider and, you know, whoever else like makes these children's shows and movies think that they can get away with. Imagine the things that they're doing that they don't want people to see, that they don't want people to know about. It makes me feel sick to my stomach, truthfully. Also, not enough people talk about that episode of Zoe 101 where Logan literally uses a whole fucking fake ass bear with a hidden camera in it to spy on the girls' lounge. That's bizarre. That's weird. Just giving these literal children ideas on how to spy on women, like, that's fucking crazy, and like kind of normalizing that. The Amanda Show having a character named Penelope Taint, a lot of the like inside jokes on the Amanda Show in general, you could see the kind of intent behind that 100%. But even if you don't believe that, on the Quiet on Set documentary, people who worked with Dan Schneider for many, many years literally came out saying that Dan, like, his whole goal in including these jokes was to see what they could get away with putting in a children's TV show. Which, again, I just think is such a bizarre thing to want to do. Like, I mean, obviously, but I feel like what I'm saying isn't obvious, because Dan Schneider got away with doing this for like 2 decades. Like, that's insane. The amount of sexual jokes in Victorious honestly takes the cake. I feel like at this point, they started getting lazy. the actors were a little bit older, so they felt like they could get away with this stuff. But there were so many jokes in there that even I understood as like a young teenager, and that just should not be happening. Like, it was gross. Again, Victorious had more C-word shot, videos of young actors with white substance on their face, which is disturbing, obviously. And I just think it's pretty nuts how no one called this out as it was happening. Also, if you want to talk about freaking nuts, talk about The Slap, which is the website that Dan Schneider created on behalf of the show Victorious. Like in the show, it was like their Twitter, but they created an actual real life website called The Slap that you could go on. And the videos on there were so much worse because obviously they were able to get away with a lot more on The Slap, like putting dirty ass jokes, having Ariana Grande pour water on herself, put her feet in her mouth, squeezing a potato. It was so fucking weird, man. I do not like that this man got a thrill out of making teenagers or young adults or literally children at some points do these gross innuendo sexual humor to see if they could get away with putting that on a child's television screen. That's weird. I don't even feel like I have to say that that's weird, but obviously we freaking do, because no one was raising the alarms about this for 20 years while these shows were airing, and we were all just watching it happen like it was normal, which is, again, not very good. I think it's all a part of a bigger conspiracy theory, and I truly do believe that Hollywood tries to desensitize us and the young people in Hollywood industry from things like this so that they can normalize what they do. And then you have people like P. Diddy who go undetected for decades because they think this shit is normal. It's so fucked up, and it's probably worse than we can even imagine. But I just think that the fact that one of the most popular television show creators of all time, who has some of the most successful TV shows under his belt, was such a disturbing fucking man. Like, not only treating his child actors terribly and, exploiting them and being gross, but also his staff of like adult women who were writers and stuff, they were treated horribly as well. It's just disturbing. It is. And I genuinely think, like, obviously Quiet on Set was a great, like, documentary, and people were finally, like, talking about this in a real big space and way. But that just truly probably scraped the surface of how many dark things happened on these, like, Nickelodeon's Disney Channel sets. I genuinely believe that, because thing is it's definitely not just Nickelodeon. It's probably Disney Channel as well. And I just think it's something to say that this stuff has been happening right under our noses for our entire childhoods. And we probably have seen things and heard dirty jokes that we shouldn't have been hearing as children because of people like Dan Schneider who want to see how much they can push the barrier on sexual jokes in children's shows. Like, do you not think that's weird? I don't understand it. So something that was supposed to be so lighthearted, like Nickelodeon, it's for children, like parents are supposed to feel safe turning on Nickelodeon and letting their child watch that. You can't. And people like Dan Schneider literally went out of their way to make that a reality and make it so this network was not a safe space for children, but instead exploited them and normalized that weird ass behavior that they're into. And I just think that's so bonkers, truly. Like, I promise if you go back and watch any Dan Schneider show that you loved as a kid, you will hear jokes and you'll probably think they were funny. And you'll probably be like, whoa, I missed that as a kid. But I want you to sit there and really think to yourself, like, these people wanted to get away with telling these jokes on a children's TV screen. Like, why else would that give them satisfaction if not that they're creepy? Like, I don't know. I don't feel like there's another explanation for it. And I also think, like, having the kids in the shows participate in these things is so fucked up. Like, again, I don't know. Like, the Rugrats one's obviously weird, like, the little, like, Vixens thing. But I think a lot of kids, that joke, they wouldn't get. There's no kids in the actual show. Like, they're all voiced by adult actors. So that feels like a little bit less, still weird, but a little bit less, versus having child actors like Jamie Lynn Spears, Jeanette McCurdy, Ariana Grande, and more all like participate in this disturbing behavior, it's gross. Like, I don't know what else to say. I really think this in particular is kind of helping to like normalize inappropriate jokes to children at a young age because they have like very impressionable minds. So having these jokes pushed on you as a child has made it so it seemed normal going into their adulthood to have people talking like this and acting this way, which is disturbing because that was their purpose. That's why they wanted to do it. I don't know. I think especially when you look at the mental health of some of these people, like young child actors, like Amanda Bynes, Miley Cyrus, like it goes on and on how many people were exposed to this kind of abuse and weird behavior that I don't think it's a coincidence. Like, I don't think the reason that Amanda Bynes and Britney Spears were in conservatorships is just because they grew up in the public eye. It's because they had people preying on them since they were literally children. And I just think that these little harmless jokes, or obviously some of them are very incredibly disturbing jokes that are being made in children's media, is just the beginning and just the like tip of the iceberg as to what is going on in Hollywood. Truthfully, I truly believe that, especially the Victoria's cast in particular, like having them at like age 17, 18, all think it's normal to be, you know, making these horribly like sexual jokes in these TV shows and seeing what they could get away with and stuff. That's them having people like Dan Schneider who are in the industry for decades and are like 30 years older than them, normalizing this behavior to them. And why do you think that tends to affect these people's real lives? Everything that's going on with Justin Bieber right now, I think, is a product of how he was treated as a child in Hollywood. So on and so forth. Honestly, Liz Gillies, I hate saying this because I love Liz Gillies. But her marrying a man who is so much older than her, who she met when she was like 17 years old, is disturbing. And could it be a result of that behavior being normalized around her? I don't know. Anyway, that is it for today's video. If you guys liked it, please give it a big thumbs up. Here's my coloring all finished. Not my best work, I can't lie. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about this topic. I've always found this to be very interesting, especially as a child loving so many of Dan Schneider's shows and then realizing how bad they actually were, going back and looking into it, and of course reading Jeanette McCurdy's book and hearing all the things that she went through. Like, I wanted to be on Nickelodeon. I thought it was the dream to be on a Dan Schneider show, and clearly it was a nightmare. So I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this. But anyway, that is it. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, and subscribe for new videos every week, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.